I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC fighter Tony Ferguson blast the UFC president Dana White. Quote, Dana White treated his lady like that in public. How do you think he treats his fighters? UFC welterweight fighter Tony Ferguson doesn't seem to be pleased with UFC president Dana White. El Kakui has been out of action since a short notice clash with Nate Diaz last September. Originally, the two favorites. Okay, we don't like. Okay, we don't. Let's get into the good part, right? Let's get into the good part. Since his defeat to Nate Diaz last year, Tony Ferguson has been out of the cage. The former UFC champion doesn't have a return date scheduled as he's reportedly studying business at Harvard University with a potential future in business world on the horizon. It seems that Tony Ferguson has no problems taking digs at his current boss. Tony Ferguson has a complicated relationship with the UFC president over the years. Before Tony Ferguson fought with Michael Chandler last year, he took Michael Chandler to task over having, quote, Dana White privilege. This seemingly hints at the idea that the former Bellator champion has received special treatment since joining the promotion. Okay. In a since deleted tweet, Tony Ferguson again discussed the treatment of UFC fighters while he's opined that fighters such as Michael Chandler get special treatment. Other fighters aren't so lucky. Tony Ferguson also referenced Dana White public incident with his wife over New Year's Eve. The tweet read, "It's going to take a class action lawsuit to let some these so-called untouchables get a taste of their own medicine, Mac. If this person treated his lady like that in public, how do you think he treats his fighters underneath?" The promoter. Dana White was in an argument. Okay, I really don't want to get into this part. I don't want to get into that part of what happened with Dana White. It's just not really something I want to talk about on this channel. While other MMA fighters such as Jamal Hill has stood by Dana White after the incident, it seems safe to say that Tony Ferguson isn't on board with what happened between Dana White and his wife. It's between Dana White and his wife. We saw what happened. I personally just don't want to get into that on this channel. Tony Ferguson definitely has some points. Even Tony Ferguson has not been shy about his criticism of how not only Dana White but the UFC, right? Like, I know a lot of people just want to say Dana White treats all his fighters bad, and it's just only Dana White is the only, quote unquote bad, but it's the UFC, and a lot of things that goes on in the UFC. I remember Tony Ferguson was in a press conference, and when he first originally used the line Dana White privilege for Michael Chandler, Dana White literally, and I'm not even joking, Dana White literally laughed the loudest, and I believe Michael Chandler was like, "Thanks, boss," or something like that. So Dana White, I'm not saying that he confirmed that Michael Chandler is getting, quote unquote Dana White privilege, but Dana White thought that was funny. I think he really liked that line. I don't think that means he's necessarily confirming that Michael Chandler is getting, quote unquote special treatment or anything like that. But yeah, let me know your opinion of this story. Personally, I normally try not to put my personal opinion in this in these videos, but I would say I wouldn't say special treatment or anything like that, but relationships, everyone has different relationships, right? I personally don't think Dana White is like holding specific fighters back because of their personal relationship with him, because Dana White has, got along with some fighters and not got along with other fighters, right? That's just how it's always going to be. I can't say that I don't think Tony Ferguson was wrong that Michael Chandler is getting Dana White privilege. But I can't. I can't disagree with that, but I don't know what Dana White privilege is what I'm basically saying. I really have no idea. Does that mean easier fights? Does that mean, if he loses, he still gets, treated better? And what's the definition of treated better, right? Like, Michael Chandler has only had like one championship fight. So I don't really know what the definition of Dana White privilege is. But let me know if you know the definition of Dana White, or do you think some fighters do have Dana White privilege and get Dana White privilege? I'm Jason, UFC. Today we have a story about Tony Ferguson blast the UFC president Dana White, saying if Dana White treated his lady, his wife, like that in public, how do you think he treats his UFC fighters? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.